Hello, it's Movie Rewinds here. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care.
Welcome to Fiction Recap. Today we are going to explain a post-apocalyptic science fiction disaster movie called Reign of Fire. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The film begins with a little boy named Quinn who is shown up to a construction site where his mother works as a construction worker. He wishes to meet his mother who is currently working in an underground construction program. He pays a visit and talks to her mother for a while, but she has to get back to some digging, so she tells Quinn to leave and get home safe. On his way out, he hears a man cussing at his mother only because she was making him go inside a tunnel he was afraid to go. Quinn goes to that man and tells him that it's highly unethical and disrespectful to say bad stuff to a person just because they gave you a task you cannot do. The man's ego is hurt, so he dares Quinn to go inside the tunnel instead of him. Quinn takes the torch and fearlessly crawls inside the cave. He thinks he's touching the muddy walls, but in reality, he's touching the scales on a dragon's back. As he keeps stroking his hand on the dragon's back thinking it's just a weird textured wall, the dragon spits a small ball of fire near his feet. When Quinn looks up, he becomes scared to see the face of a dragon which looked terrifying. The dragon spits its saliva on Quinn's face, which causes him irritation. He immediately comes out and informs everyone of the dragon that's been sleeping inside the tunnel. His mother believes him after seeing his condition, but the men didn't believe him. The men make a group and enter the tunnel to see if there is a dragon in there or not. The men somehow offend the dragon to spit a large amount of fire, which wipes out their existence. The fire starts coming out of the tunnel. Slowly, everything starts catching fire, which makes Quinn and his mother run for their lives. Quinn and his mother take the lift to get back on the ground, but unfortunately, the dragon comes out of the tunnel and attacks the mother-son duo. The lift hits the ground, but with Quinn alive and his mother dead. It is then shown that the dragon's first appearance at the construction place was witnessed in 2010. Since then, the dragons had taken over the entire world and had reduced the population to a dangerous extent. The majority of people that were weak or unskilled happened to die within the coming years, whereas the strong ones survived and fought the dragons for a living. This brings things to the current time where fewer people are left on Earth. Quinn, who is a grown man now, happens to be the chief of a minority group in London. He has made an underground slum where he gives refugees to needy people and provides them protection from the dragons. Quinn has befriended fewer guys that help him lead the slum. The people are only allowed to go out on the ground when they have to work in the fields or have to harvest food. Quinn and his people have crops outside from where they fulfill their basic food needs. One day, a guy named Eddie from Quinn's domain rebels and demands to leave. He blames Quinn and his poor food arrangements for the death of his wife and daughter. He doesn't want the rest of his family to die of starvation, so he wants to get out. Quinn doesn't grant him permission, saying it's more dangerous to survive alone than to stay protected under his small community. Besides, he promises to provide more food once the crops are fully ready to be harvested. Till then, he requests Eddie to compromise. Eddie acts cool in front of him but secretly steals Quinn's Jeep keys. At dawn, he sneaks out of the underground slum with his family and some people who are on his side. They head to the crop field to get some food. Unfortunately, the security speculates a dragon's arrival in the field, so they ring the alarms in the field and the slum both. Quinn and his associates wakes up to the alarm and become alerted, but they realize Eddie and his family was missing. As much as Quinn is angry and mad at Eddie, he's also a leader who has to look after his people. He decides to go out to save Eddie and his family because he knows they cannot survive alone. Quinn is intelligent enough to trace them through his Jeep. He reaches outside the fields and starts a fire in all four directions outside the fields. Though this was dangerous and could have destroyed their crops, they took a year to get ready. Quinn still takes the risk and is successful at deceiving the dragon because the fire creates thick smoke, which makes the dragon unable to see anyone. Meanwhile, Eddie and his people think the dragons have started the fire and become fearful. They pray to the Lord knowing they cannot be saved. Thankfully, Quinn shows up in his heat-resistant suit. He assists them back to his Jeep where he can take them back to the slum. Everything goes according to the plan, and he successfully gets everyone inside the Jeep. The dragon shows up at the last minute and throws fire, due to which Eddie's youngest son, who was about to hop inside the Jeep, gets killed. Everyone gets back and mourns the lost soul, but Quinn is super mad at Eddie for taking such a poor decision that got his son killed in the fields. The scene then shifts to the next day where a small number of people show up in army tanks outside Quinn's domain. Quinn's security goes to talk to them. The group leader Van Zan comes out of his panzer and asks the security to see their chief instead. Quinn and his associates come out to pay a visit. Van Zan states that he and his group are warriors that fight dragons for a living. They want to make the world dragon-free like it once was. Unfortunately, in all this time, they've lost a lot of food and weapons. He proposes to Quinn that he takes him and his group as his refugees and provides them shelter for some time. He further shows a dragon's teeth that he's wearing as a necklace. To solidify his image of a warrior, he tells that he defeated a dragon and pulled out one of his teeth himself. Quinn takes the tooth in his hand and believes the guy isn't lying about his work, so he joins hands with him and takes it in. From the new group, Quinn gets slightly attracted to a girl named Alex. She's a pilot who flies helicopters and helps in the dragon-slaying operations. Quinn curiously asks how they kill such giant and vicious dragons. Juan and Alex tell that they fly the helicopters close enough to the dragon's heads so that the warriors can jump on the dragon's head and slay them. In the next scene, the security guards suspect another dragon's attack by using their telescopes. They immediately ring the alarms in the underground slum, which now alerts Juan and his fugitives. Quinn and his men and Juan's men join hands and hit the road to slay the dragons together. Van Zan sends 3 of his fugitives on bikes before them. They are sent to plant a radar-like machine in the fields where the dragons are about to show up. The machine is divided into 3 poles and requires its placement in the ground in the shape of a triangle or else it won't work. The first 2 bikers successfully plant their poles on the right spots, but the third rider tips over his bike and dies. Juan tries to communicate to the third rider to ask for his status through the walkie-talkie, but he doesn't get a response. Luckily, Quinn arrives there and talks to Juan, who instructs Quinn about the right placement of the third radar pole. Soon, Juan suspects the main dragon heading toward the mountain behind which Quinn was working on the radar. It is then shown that Alex is flying the chopper where she yells at a guy to become the bait for the dragon. She makes the guy jump in front of the dragon and gives him the bait. The man does as he's told and diverts the dragon's attention. Soon he opens his parachute and flies out of the dragon's sight. Now 2 other men of Juan jumps out of the chopper and trap the dragon in their net. The dragon appears to be stronger and breaks their nets easily. This was something Juan's people had never faced before. They try to tackle the situation, but the dragon eats one of the 2 men and the second one doesn't get the chance to open his parachute, so he dies. Subsequently, Juan informs Quinn of the situation and tells him to leave the place since the dragon is headed in his direction. Quinn gets back on his horse, but the dragon chases after him. Juan takes over the situation and fires a bazooka toward the dragon. The dragon gets severely injured and slowly dies. Whereas Quinn and his people are happy, Juan is upset because he lost 3 of his warriors due to this dragon. There he tells his real plan, which is to slay the only male-dominant dragon to stop the dragon's population from further growing and start slaying the female dragons, due to which they can get permanent rid of the dragons. He asks Quinn to join hands and give him his people too. Quinn bluntly denies it and says that he can't endanger the lives of his people. Since Juan is desperate and truly wants to free the people from the ruthless dragons, he goes to Quinn's people himself and gives an emotional speech to get them on his team. During the speech, his eyes become teary, which indicates that he was a righteous person. However, when Quinn finds out about Juan's direct encounter with his people, he takes it the wrong way and assumes Juan is trying to brainwash his people. He picks up a physical fight with Juan in aggression, but since Juan is super jacked up, he overpowers Quinn and gives him some solid fists that he had never tasted in his life before. Alex, despite being Juan's associate, feels bad for Quinn and provides him with medical aid. During their opposing time, the male-dominant dragon arrives and sets fire to Quinn's entire domain. The dragon doesn't stop spitting fire until everything turns into ashes. Quinn is helpless, but Juan and his people help him save the woman and children. They take everyone to a safe place. This horrific incident changes Juan and Quinn's opinions about one another. Juan apologizes for getting his people in danger because of his arrival, and Quinn is thankful to him for saving his people. Now, Quinn also vouches for Juan's plan and decides to team up with him. However, he hands his fewer people left to his domain's most trustable and responsible young man named Jared. He advises Jared to look after the people and always protect them no matter what happens. Now, Quinn leaves with Juan and Alex in their helicopter. They'd reached the central point of London where hundreds of small dragons are circling over the historical buildings. Unfortunately, the trio has no plan on defeating the main dragon, so they get into an argument. Soon, the dominant dragon shows up and scares off other mini dragons. Quinn people become relieved to see this because they will no longer have to waste their energy on the small and unimportant ones. Now, Quinn confesses that he knows all the underground shortcuts to reach the middle of London without them getting noticed or attacked by any dragon. The trio goes underground and reaches a point that's the main tower. They send Alex out as the bait. She lures the dragon toward the tower, where Juan uses a crossbow kind of weapon to throw a bomb inside the dragon's mouth. Unfortunately, he misses a shot that doesn't kill the dragon but only makes it angrier. The dragon opens an attack at Juan, but he dodges it. He takes out his axe as his last move and jumps off a dead end, hoping to chop off the dragon's head, but instead gets eaten by the dragon. This leaves Quinn behind. He decides to get his hands on a crossbow weapon and shoot the bomb himself, but the dragon sees him and starts chasing after him. After a hard chase, Quinn luckily gets his hands on the weapon and shoots the bomb, aiming toward the dragon's mouth. His shot doesn't miss and goes straight inside the dragon, thus killing it mercilessly. The scene is then directly cut to the part where Quinn and Alex are seen building a new community together in a place that has become completely dragon-free.
Make sure subscribe our channel for more videos, and thanks for watching.